Okay, so again, with the comic book films and stuff like that, I'm going to give my overall thoughts on the film. There's going to be a break, a big spoiler section, then another break, and then the trailers. And you know what the break points are. So, okay, you see the TV commercials, you get the idea, right? Okay, so overall, I'm going to give Spider-Man Far From Home a B. This was pretty enjoyable. It was very solid. Great performances from Jon Favreau, Tom Holland, Jake Gyllenhaal. The actor who plays Ned Leeds, whose name just sadly escapes me, he actually has kind of a great scene-stealing moments throughout the opening parts of this film. Unfortunately, the pacing of the film is really monotonous at times. Maybe it focuses a little too much on Peter Parker and not a lot on Spider-Man. Basically, the Spider-Man bits are just kind of little set pieces that don't always add to much. Not to mention, there's a big twist with Mysterio that pretty much everyone who saw the big Max trailer that came out a few months ago called when that happened. So it's not as surprising as I believe they thought it was going to be. That being said, the end credit scenes, which I won't get into at this point, but the end credit scenes are very enjoyable and have unique aspects to them, which I'll get to in the spoiler section. So yeah, overall good, solid, a B, just above average, but not spectacular.
Coming later today to Fox, the television event you've been waiting for, with the amazing superhero who's worth waiting for, Spider-Man. It's the special sneak preview you can't miss. Watch the all-new Spider-Man, coming later today to Fox Kids.
It'll transform you.
Okay, so yes, this film takes place after everything from Endgame. Sorry, I suddenly slipped my mind. Yeah, obviously this film takes place after Endgame. Basically, the Thanos wave, or the blip, as the students at Peter's High School call it, it took out most of Peter Parker's class, not all of them. And the other funny thing is because even though they were like 3/4 of the way through the school year when the blip happened, they have to completely redo their year now that they're back 5 years later. In fact, one of the students actually points out that his younger brother is now his older brother. There's also some jokes about them trying to buy alcohol because technically they're 21. It's 5 years since they died and came back. So there's, kind of that little humorous motif through there. That being said, his science class is getting a trip to Europe to, it's funny, they're sent as a science class on a science trip through Europe, but they're going to all like the historical artifacts and stuff like that, which don't really have anything to do with that. And kind of through all of this, Nick Fury is trying to get in contact with Peter Parker, but he's kind of in this, I want to get closer to MJ, Michelle, that's Zendaya's character, and try to see if I can maybe start things up with her. The funnier bits is Betty Brant, if you're a long-time Spider-Man fan, that name's familiar to you. She's actually a reporter in this film. They talk. She basically fills in what happened, and she's on the trip too. And she actually went basically on the flight over. She and Ned Leeds become a couple. Which again, if you know the comics, Betty and Ned actually married. And then Ned gets killed in one of the storylines that was actually the inspiration for this. And kind of through all this, early on in the film too, before we even get to Peter, we show Fury and Maria Hill arriving in Mexico, and that's where Mysterio first popped up, fighting an entity that looked like, they said it was a cyclone, but it had a human face on it, and that's where they bump into Mysterio. And that's where this whole multiverse thing comes from. They say the code words. It's Mysterio says, Quentin Beck says he's from 833, Earth 833, and that the MCU universe is Earth 616. Again, if you know your comics, that's where that comes from too. There's a tie-in there. Like I said, claims, because yeah, we'll get to that. There's also some other bits like Fury gives Peter basically something that Tony Stark told him to give to him. It's a pair of glasses that have their own operating system called Edith. And another kind of minor subplot in the film, unfortunately, it's really underdeveloped, is MJ does have another kind of love interest in a high achieving student named David, and both David and Peter are sort of aware that they're vying for her affections. And so there's a scene later on where David catches Peter in a compromising position and tries to use it as blackmail. He takes a picture with his phone, and Peter is trying to use Edith to get it deleted, but it instead sends a drone attack that goes after the group. Anyway, Mysterio claims that, back to Mysterio, he claims that he's fighting these elementals that go through the multiverses and destroy everything, and they destroyed his Earth and killed his family. And he's already destroyed 3 because it's Earth, Fire, Air, and you get the idea, and Water. And Fire is the strongest of them, and it's going to pop up in Prague. And so, even though Peter and his class are flying to Venice and they're supposed to go to Paris, they actually wind up going to Prague. And their teacher says, we got upgraded because their teachers are idiots. I mean, they're really stupid in this, unfortunately. They're not the best side characters in this. After that, but Peter kind of bungles up a couple of times, and he doesn't seem to gain Nick Fury's respect at all. But he eventually works with Mysterio. Sorry, but he works with Mysterio to take down the fire elemental, and everything seems good. And at one point, Mysterio actually tries on the Edith glasses jokingly, and Peter says, wow, you look just like Tony Stark. And he says, you know what? These were supposed to be given to the next Iron Man. I think that's you, and I want you to have them. And that's where the ruse gets revealed, that in reality, Quentin Beck is not from a parallel universe. Shock of shocks, I know, because this was the prevailing fan theory on the internet. He's not from a parallel universe. He is actually from Earth, and he's a former Stark employee. He developed the augmented reality illusion technology that, if you saw Civil War, Tony was demonstrating at MIT at the beginning of. He developed that, and Tony basically co-opted it and turned it into something that it wasn't intended for. He's working with a whole bunch of former Stark Enterprises employees who feel they got robbed by Tony Stark, basically. And there's one other one who played a kind of prominent role in the first Iron Man film, all the way back to the first Iron Man film. He's the guy Obadiah Stane bullied into trying to tap into the Ironmonger armor, basically. So we've got that going there, too. As this is also happening, MJ manages to come into possession of one of Mysterio's holo projectors, and she's pieced together that Peter is Spider-Man, though he denies it at first. But once they discover that, yeah, she has the holo projector, he says, yeah, she does confess. So she's in on it, and I think Betty Brant is in on it too. Flash Thompson gets pulled into it, but he doesn't learn Spider-Man's identity. And Peter basically tries to go catch them because they're going to basically induct Mysterio into the Avengers, and realizing that he's using the Edith technology to take over. And he goes to try to stop Fury, but it turns out, again, to be Mysterio's illusion, and Mysterio has figured out they have the holo projector. And because Mysterio's illusions disorient Peter enough that his spider sense does not work, and he blabs where the holo projector is going, and so basically Quentin Beck starts moving to take out this field trip. And he tricks Peter into getting hit by a train, and the train carries him all the way to Amsterdam, and he has to call Happy Hogan for a lift in the Quinjet. It's there that they actually develop a new Spider-Man suit, because Peter actually he has 3. He has the Iron Spider suit, which he actually leaves back in New York. He has the one that Aunt May packed in his suitcase, but he doesn't want to use because, again, he's trying to get away from being Spider-Man for a while. He needs a breather. And he has one that S.H.I.E.L.D. developed for him that's the Stealth Spider suit, and it's black as night. And when they see him, he gets dubbed Night Monkey by the press. It's Ned Leeds calls him that, and somehow word gets to the press. At this point, they start, and this kind of leads to the big shebang in London. Fury eventually gets word that Beck is not on their side. Peter works to save everyone again. Eventually, Mysterio gets kind of, Quentin Beck gets a little too hubris, high in hubris basically, and tells all of his drones that he's commanding to open fire even though he's in the strike zone. And Peter manages to grab one and spin it, and so it takes out Mysterio. And there's a bit of a rub to this too, so I'll tell you this right now, it's not as stupid as you think, but yeah, Mysterio does die. And again, kind of through everything, Peter and MJ do become a couple. When they return to New York, Peter takes her out for a swing just before the credits roll. And then we get to our credit scene. The first is the mid-credit scene. Peter and MJ finish their swing, and MJ admits that she really didn't like it and not to do it again. And as this is happening, a report comes over the television airwaves. They have like the big LCD screens in New York City, and it shows Quentin Beck sending out a message because just before he died, the underling who had worked on the Ironmonger armor had downloaded something onto a flash drive, and it's like, oh, okay, so something's there. And it's actually, as he was kind of dying, Beck sends out a message saying, I was trying to stop this thing, I was there, but suddenly Spider-Man attacked me, and he said he's going to be the new Iron Man. And Spider-Man's name is Peter Parker. And it turns out this was brought to the world by J. Jonah Jameson. And it's J.K. Simmons again, so we all got that to rejoice in. It's not quite the J. Jonah from the Sam Raimi movies. He's bald in this one. He doesn't have the flat top haircut, or I don't think he had the mustache either. But other than that, I mean, it's J. Jonah Jameson by J.K. Simmons, so it's amazing. And that's how that ends. And then in the end credits scene, it's revealed that Fury and Maria Hill in this were not Fury and Maria Hill. They were actually Skrulls. And Fury is busy working on SWORD. That's a sister organization to S.H.I.E.L.D. in the comics that's supposed to monitor the deep space activities. And that's just kind of how it is. They don't tease anything else. So yeah, like I said, overall there was a lot to enjoy in this film. I didn't really mention it, I guess. Betty and Ned become a couple. They're a couple throughout the whole thing, and then right when they touch down in the United States, they break up. And that's kind of okay with it, sort of a mutual thing. Oh, we broke up. And even though Peter wanted to go on a double date. So, yeah, also, there's a hint that Happy and May had a romance because she was taken out in the blip as well, and it turns out that, because of this, people moved into their apartment, in the 5 years that they were dead, so she lost her home, and, she works with an organization that's helping people that were, in that similar situation where they were inadvertently evicted due to their untimely death and equally as weird resurrections. So, yeah, they actually do kind of acknowledge the ramifications of bringing everyone back during Endgame. They did a pretty good job with that. Unfortunately, a lot of the other scenes just kind of feel, like I said, very pedestrian, very by the numbers. Good performances helped elevate it. Great action sequences. I actually saw the 3D version of this, and 3D was all right. There's a couple of weird scenes where the best 3D effect was a cat sitting on a table. And so from that, like I said, good performances, except for, I would say, Samuel Jackson as Nick Fury. He starts out good, but again, he's very Rubish in this. He's talking about, well, because of the blip and the Thanos wave and everyone was gone for 5 years, like, S.H.I.E.L.D. is basically gone. I can't use S.H.I.E.L.D. anymore. I can't tap into the intel community anymore. So I'm having to really fight hard, and of course I guess that's kind of, the reveal at the end kind of helps bring it up again, but he's still like a little too trusting of things. He runs down Peter Parker way too much. Of course, it's not really him, it's a Skrull, but, and again, that it just kind of didn't help this film a lot. It should be, like, Peter should really be more comfortable in his own skin at this point. I get the idea, especially since he's on this trip, and after everything that's happened, maybe he needed to take some time off, take a step back, and reassess things. That's not the bad part. Unfortunately, it's like, but they couldn't build on it very well, and that is the lacking bit of this. So yeah, I am giving Spider-Man Far From Home a B.
When you play Ultimate Spider-Man,
Somebody help me!
you can use your powers to protect mankind, or wreak havoc and terrorize humanity. Swing through the city as Spider-Man, or storm the streets as Venom. Defend New York City against the forces of evil, or unleash your fury and crush everything in sight. Ultimate Spider-Man, rated T for Teen, available now.
Okay, trailer time, and we got 3 new ones, and we got a bunch of retreads again. Also, a weird thing happened with the projector, and there was like a color negative throughout most of these all these trailers except for the last 2 were all like garbled and green and purple and stuff like that. So the first one is Knives Out. That's Rian Johnson's new film. It's kind of this Agatha Christie, and then there were a few type whodunit murder where people are getting killed one by one and you have to try to figure out who it is. It looked I would say it looked kind of interesting, but I didn't see much of it. It was just green. After that, we had Terminator Dark Fate again, Hobbs and Shaw again, 21 Bridges again. I thought that film had come out already. I guess I missed it. I guess I did. I guess I was wrong there. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood again. Our next new trailer, Jumanji Next Level. Again, that was one of those ones where the colors were all wonky, but I saw that yesterday. Obviously, that's when it dropped. We have Lion King again, and then last but not least, Spies in Disguise. Trying to remember if we had this one or not. It's Will Smith is a spy, and Tom Holland is like this junior spy who develops this technology that's supposed to allow for stealth travel, but what it does, it turns you into a pigeon, and basically it's Emperor's New Groove, except now he's a pigeon. Yeah, that's what it looked like. It did not look particularly entertaining. So, yeah. Anyway, next movie review, I'm trying to pull a double feature on this one. It'll be Crawl first, then Stuber, and also around that time you're going to get the random trade review on Kirby Genesis Volume 1, and the recap and review of Extreme Rules, WWE Extreme Rules. See you all next time. Hey guys, check out my Patreon and see how you can request a movie for me to review, even if it's some stinker like A Dog's Way Home or the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. Also, if you like what you see, give the video a like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to ring that notification bell.